When NATO officials first learned about Ukraine's latest defensive innovation, they didn't call it reckless or desperate. They called it revolutionary. As reports emerged of an acoustic detection system that could hear drones and missiles coming long before they appeared on radar, some officials simply called it crazy. Not in the sense of being foolish, but in the sense of being so audacious and unexpected that it stunned even the world's most experienced military leaders. The story begins not on a battlefield or inside a secret lab, but in a small sound studio in Kyiv. The company at the center of this story, Respicher, was best known for creating voice clones for movies and TV. Using advanced AI, they could replicate the voices of characters like Darth Vader so perfectly that even the most hardcore fans were fooled. Their work graced some of the biggest Hollywood blockbusters, and their engineers loved the art and science of creating voices that felt alive. But then came February 24, 2022, the day Russia invaded Ukraine. Overnight, Respicher's priorities changed. CTO Dmytro Belyevtsov and his team realized that their talents were no longer just entertainment novelties. They saw a chance, a duty, to use their audio expertise to protect their country. Their advanced algorithms that once crafted movie magic now faced a stark new mission: to save lives. At first glance, using voice cloning tech to detect missiles sounds absurd. But if you peel back the layers, the connection makes sense. Both tasks rely on analyzing and recognizing extremely subtle differences in sound patterns. Whether distinguishing Harrison Ford's voice from a stand-in or telling a missile's roar apart from a passing truck, it's all about signal processing and pattern recognition. The challenge was enormous. The Ukrainian countryside is filled with sound: buzzing insects, gusts of wind, echoing farm machinery, distant chainsaws, mooing cows, barking dogs, the idle chatter of soldiers. Within this noisy tapestry, the system had to pick out the brief, telltale roar of a missile or the high-pitched whine of a drone motor. It was like trying to hear a single violin note in the middle of a thunderstorm. They called the system zvuk, the Ukrainian word for sound. But turning the idea into a working defense system required more than algorithms. Respicher partnered with i3 Engineering's Pavlo Siupka and Marian Sulim from the 125th Territorial Defense Brigade. Together, they had to gather raw data from real battlefields. Soldiers risked their lives to record the distinct audio signatures of missiles and drones overhead. Unlike sanitized training data from lab simulations, this was chaotic, real, and invaluable. At first, zvuk's accuracy was around 50%, basically the same as flipping a coin. But each new battlefield recording improved the algorithm's ear. Engineers fed the system sound data again and again, tuning it until it began to pick out missile engines from the chorus of background noise with incredible precision. Over time, zvuk achieved what its creators called zero false negatives. It never missed a real threat, although it could still occasionally give a false alarm. Physically, each zvuk station was elegantly simple. A curved acoustic mirror about half a meter across collected sound, funneling it into a sensitive microphone. Behind it, a small computer, about the size of a shoebox, ran advanced AI algorithms in real time. It looked humble compared to radar towers and missile batteries, yet its potential was enormous. The first major test came quickly. Just 4 hours after the first operational zvuk station was switched on, it detected a Russian cruise missile. Within minutes, Ukrainian air defense teams received early warning, buying them critical time to respond. It was proof that this acoustic approach worked not only in theory but under real, brutal wartime conditions. Yet even as it succeeded, the team knew zvuk had limits. By 2023, Ukraine had only about 40 zvuk stations spread across its vast territory. The detection range was modest, around 3 miles for drones and artillery, and up to 5 miles for missiles. It was a local warning system, not a comprehensive shield. Ukraine's defenders realized they needed a broader solution. That's when an idea emerged, not from a high-tech lab, but from a humble garage workshop. 2 Ukrainian engineers experimented with a radically simpler concept. What if they skipped the mirrors and big processing units altogether? What if they just stuck a microphone and a cell phone on a pole, and used a massive swarm of these cheap devices. Thus was born Sky Fortress. Instead of a few sophisticated stations, Sky Fortress aimed to deploy thousands of simple, inexpensive listening posts across Ukraine. These devices used basic acoustic triangulation, comparing when a sound arrived at different microphones to pinpoint its source. It's the same idea behind GPS, but applied to sound instead of satellite signals. Sky Fortress grew rapidly, expanding into a network of 8,000 to 10,000 acoustic sensors. Each unit cost only $400 to $500, and the whole system cost about $54 million, less than the price of 2 Patriot missiles. The logic was clear. Rather than rely on a handful of expensive radars, build a spiderweb of simple ears that could listen everywhere at once. The benefits were dramatic. Redundancy meant the network could continue even if some sensors were destroyed. Wide coverage meant that even low-flying threats could be detected early and tracked continuously. And critically, multiple sensors working together could provide exact coordinates and flight paths, allowing air defense teams to prepare ambushes in advance. Sky Fortress soon showed its power. In 2024, during one major Russian drone attack, Ukrainian forces intercepted 80 out of 84 drones, an astonishing 95% success rate. Acoustic data flowed into centralized computers, which then sent precise coordinates to mobile anti-aircraft teams. These teams, equipped with traditional guns rather than expensive missiles, could set up quickly and strike with pinpoint accuracy. But Sky Fortress had limitations too. Its range was still in the single-digit miles, and it focused mainly on low-altitude threats. High-altitude bombers or distant missile launches remained outside its reach. And because its sensors were fixed to the ground, they couldn't easily adjust to sudden changes in the front lines. As the war continued to shift unpredictably, Ukraine needed a way to make its ears mobile. Entered Germany's quantum systems and their vector drones. These drones weren't just cameras in the sky, they carried advanced, miniaturized acoustic sensors no bigger than a finger. Despite their tiny size, these sensors could detect artillery and mortar fire from up to 10 miles away. This was a game changer. Now, Ukraine didn't have to wait for missiles to come into range of ground-based sensors. Instead, it could send drones deep into contested airspace to listen for enemy artillery positions. The drones could then turn their optical sensors toward any suspicious noise, visually confirm the target, and immediately transmit coordinates to Ukrainian strike units. This effectively compressed what military planners call the sensor-to-shooter timeline. Normally, detecting and striking enemy artillery is slow. Radar might detect incoming shells and trace them back, or scouts might spot positions visually and radio them in. With vector drones, a single platform could hear, confirm, and call for a strike in one seamless chain, often before the enemy had time to pack up and relocate. Additionally, because acoustic sensors are passive, they only listen, they're much harder for the enemy to detect or jam compared to active radar systems. Drones equipped with acoustic ears could fly low, stay quiet, and listen for enemy activity without revealing their own position. The implications were vast. Ukraine's military could go from purely defending against drone and missile strikes to actively hunting enemy artillery and disrupting rear operations. Instead of always being on the back foot, these drones allowed Ukrainian forces to strike first. Still, the drones faced challenges. Their detection range, while impressive for their size, was still limited compared to traditional radar systems. Heavy weather, battlefield noise, and electronic interference could degrade performance. And since they relied on communication links, they were vulnerable to jamming and cyber attacks. Even so, the pace of innovation was breathtaking. From the first Zvuk experiments in 2022 to the planned deployment of vector drones in summer 2025, Ukraine had developed 3 generations of acoustic defense in under 3.5 years. By contrast, major NATO programs often take a decade or more just to move from concept to first field test. This agility caught NATO's attention. General James Hecker admitted he was mighty impressed, while Assistant Secretary General Tom Gofus simply said the whole approach was crazy. But behind their praise lay deeper questions. How could Ukraine, under invasion, with far fewer resources, develop game-changing technology faster than well-funded Western programs? Part of the answer lies in Ukraine's sense of urgency. With survival at stake, traditional procurement processes and endless layers of review were set aside. Small teams could build, test, fail, and improve in cycles measured in weeks, not years. The threat was immediate. The innovation had to be too. The implications for NATO and other Western militaries are profound. Ukraine's success suggests that in some cases, focusing on smaller, simpler, cheaper, and faster solutions may be more effective than massive, costly, decades-long development programs. Acoustic detection, once considered a niche curiosity, suddenly proved its worth on the battlefield. Moreover, combining acoustic data with other intelligence sources, radar, optical, infrared, and electronic signals, can create a comprehensive, layered defense network. Such a system would not only provide early warning but also improve resilience against electronic warfare, as no single type of sensor can be easily defeated without backup. Another powerful lesson is the concept of multi-domain, multi-sensor platforms. Instead of deploying different specialized tools separately, future drones or vehicles might carry all types of sensors at once. An integrated drone could listen, watch, sense heat, intercept signals, and even analyze environmental data, creating a much richer situational picture in real time. The idea of merging different sensor types is not entirely new, but Ukraine's example pushed it into the spotlight with real, battlefield-proven results. NATO, which has long discussed theoretical, sensor fusion concepts, suddenly had a working model to study, a model born from necessity rather than slow, peacetime research labs. As Ukrainian engineers and soldiers refined their acoustic systems, they discovered unexpected advantages. For example, acoustic sensors are completely passive, they don't emit any signals. This makes them stealthy by design, unlike radar systems that can be easily detected and targeted by enemy anti-radiation missiles. In modern warfare, where electronic warfare and anti-radar tactics are advancing rapidly, having an invisible ear in the sky or on the ground offers a significant tactical edge. Furthermore, the distributed nature of Sky Fortress and the mobile capabilities of the vector drones meant the entire network was incredibly resilient. In conventional systems, if a radar station or a key node is destroyed, it can create dangerous blind spots. But Ukraine's distributed mesh of acoustic sensors ensured that even if some units were lost, the network could still function effectively. This principle mirrors how the internet was designed to survive partial outages, decentralization as a strength. By late 2024 and into 2025, Ukrainian commanders were using these systems not just to defend, but to proactively plan attacks. Acoustic data allowed them to track drone launch sites, artillery positions, and even the movement of armored columns by picking up engine noises. In some cases, Ukrainian forces used acoustic detections to lure Russian units into traps, then quickly coordinate devastating counterstrikes. On the engineering side, Ukrainian developers pushed for constant miniaturization and AI improvements. Each iteration of the acoustic sensor hardware became smaller, lighter, and more efficient. Future versions might even integrate directly onto soldier helmets or personal equipment, providing individual troops with local early warning of incoming threats, from artillery shells to low-flying drones. Meanwhile, the vector drones evolved alongside these sensors. Initially designed for surveillance, they became versatile platforms capable of a wide range of missions, spotting targets, confirming hits, and providing continuous surveillance of enemy rear areas. Plans emerged to integrate advanced optical zoom cameras and infrared systems, allowing drones to operate effectively at night and in adverse weather. AI software upgrades were developed to let drones autonomously track moving targets or classify different types of artillery based solely on sound signatures. In parallel, Ukraine began integrating these acoustic systems with traditional radar and satellite imagery. By layering data sources, they created a battlefield intelligence picture more robust than any single sensor system could provide. When an acoustic sensor detected a suspicious noise, radar operators could cross-check for aerial or ground movements, and satellite data could confirm larger formations or supply movements. This hybrid approach greatly improved both the accuracy and speed of response. Beyond the technology itself, the Ukrainian experience highlighted a shift in military culture. Rather than relying solely on top-down directives and rigid hierarchies, innovation was driven by small, agile teams that could iterate rapidly and make field adjustments on the fly. Soldiers in the field worked directly with engineers, providing immediate feedback that was fed straight into design improvements. This tight feedback loop allowed the system to evolve at an astonishing pace, something traditional procurement systems often struggle to achieve. As NATO observers watched Ukraine's success, discussions began about whether large Western militaries could adopt similar approaches. Could they empower small engineering teams to develop and deploy new tech without endless committee reviews and budgetary delays? Could they accept the risk of rapid prototyping and field testing in exchange for much faster deployment? Financially, the contrast was stark. While NATO countries spend billions on advanced missile systems and radar networks, Ukraine achieved significant defense coverage for a fraction of the cost. With Sky Fortress's entire network costing about $54 million, less than 2 Patriot missiles, it forced a re-evaluation of defense spending priorities. This raised uncomfortable questions. How many advanced missile interceptors does a country really need if a web of inexpensive acoustic sensors can neutralize threats at a fraction of the price? Additionally, Ukraine's approach demonstrated that improvisation and creativity could outperform sheer scale. When resources are limited and time is short, necessity becomes a powerful motivator. Instead of developing perfectly polished solutions over a decade, Ukrainian teams fielded good enough systems, tested them, and then iterated in real combat. This fail-fast approach, common in startups but rare in military circles, proved remarkably effective under wartime pressures. Of course, no system is without flaws. Acoustic sensors remain vulnerable to environmental noise, severe weather, and deliberate countermeasures. Russia has already started experimenting with decoy sounds and noise generators to try to confuse Ukrainian sensors. Additionally, the detection ranges, while impressive for acoustic technology, still fall short of the reach offered by high-powered radar systems and satellites. Despite these limitations, Ukraine's acoustic innovation sparked copycat efforts elsewhere. Reports suggest Russia and China are working on similar systems, adapting acoustic detection to their own doctrines. For Ukraine, this means the technological advantage might not last forever. Countermeasures will soon become a new battlefield, as both sides develop ways to exploit or disrupt each other's listening networks. Looking to the future, one intriguing possibility is the integration of acoustic sensors into swarming micro-drones. These small, cheap drones could be released in large numbers, each carrying a lightweight acoustic package. They could spread out over a wide area, collectively listening and sharing data back to a central AI-driven hub. Such a swarm could provide unprecedented real-time coverage and be nearly impossible to fully disable. Another potential evolution is combining acoustic detection with offensive capabilities on the same platform. Imagine a drone that hears an artillery battery fire, instantly pinpoints it, and then autonomously drops a precision munition on the target without needing human intervention. This hear and strike concept represents the next frontier in integrating sensors and weapons. From a strategic perspective, Ukraine's story is not just about sensors or drones. It's a broader lesson about adaptation, agility, and resilience in modern warfare. It shows that even under constant bombardment and facing overwhelming odds, a determined nation can innovate faster than larger, wealthier adversaries. By leveraging civilian expertise, private tech startups, and a strong sense of national purpose, Ukraine transformed its vulnerability into a unique strength. The symbolic power of this transformation cannot be overstated. In the early months of the war, Ukraine was portrayed as a victim, always reacting to Russia's initiatives. But as acoustic and drone systems matured, Ukraine began shaping the battlefield proactively. Suddenly, Russian units had to fear hidden ears listening for their every move, turning what once felt like a safe rear area into a potential death trap. NATO's interest in these technologies has already materialized in joint initiatives. The Joint Analysis Training and Education Center, JATEC, in Poland, operated with Ukrainian cooperation, began actively studying how acoustic detection could be integrated into wider NATO defense networks. The lessons learned from Ukraine are influencing discussions about future force structures, training doctrines, and budget allocations across multiple NATO member states. At the tactical level, individual Ukrainian units have developed standard operating procedures based on acoustic warnings. Infantry squads now sometimes carry handheld devices that alert them to nearby drones or shell launches, giving them precious extra seconds to take cover. Mobile air defense units receive near-instant audio-based target coordinates, enabling them to reposition and engage far more rapidly than before. Artillery units use acoustic data to avoid counter-battery fire, moving as soon as they fire instead of waiting for radar-based retaliation. The cultural impact among Ukrainian troops is also profound. Soldiers describe feeling more confident knowing there is an invisible web of ears protecting them. Some even refer to the acoustic network as their guardian spirit, a silent watcher that gives them a fighting chance against surprise attacks. On the civilian side, the story has inspired young engineers and students across Ukraine. Hackathons and university competitions have sprung up focused on acoustic algorithms, miniaturized sensors, and drone integration. The wartime urgency has fueled a new generation of tech talent deeply invested in defense innovation, a trend that may continue long after the war ends. Ukraine's success has sparked uncomfortable reflections within NATO and among Western defense planners. If a country under siege can roll out 3 generations of battlefield-ready acoustic detection systems in just a few years, what does that say about Western procurement systems that often take a decade or more? Should future defense programs be more open to high-risk, high-reward experimentation? Ultimately, Ukraine's acoustic revolution is more than a technical triumph. It's a testament to the power of creative problem-solving and national will. It demonstrates that in modern conflicts, listening can be as powerful, or even more powerful, than speaking or striking first. While missiles and tanks dominate headlines, it might be the silent ears of acoustic sensors that truly define who wins and who loses tomorrow's wars.